Education in Ghana was mainly informal before the arrival of European settlers, who built a formal education system addressed to the elites. With the independence of Ghana in 1957, universal education became an important political objective. The magnitude of the task as well as economic difficulties and political instabilities have slowed down attempted reforms. The Education Act in 1987, followed by the Constitution of 1992, gave a new impulse to educational policies in the country. In 2011, the primary school net enrollment rate was 84%, described by UNICEF as far ahead of the sub-Saharan average. In its 2013-14 report, the World Economic Forum ranked Ghana 46th out of 148 countries for education system quality. In 2010, Ghana's literacy rate was 71.5%, with a notable gap between men and women. The Guardian newspaper disclosed in April 2015 that 90% of children in Ghana were enrolled in school, ahead of countries like Pakistan and Nigeria at 72% and 64% respectively. Education indicators in Ghana reflect a gender gap and disparities between rural and urban areas, as well as between southern and northern parts of the country. Those disparities drive public action against illiteracy and inequities in access to education. Eliminating illiteracy has been a constant objective of Ghanaian education policies for the last 40 years. The difficulties around ensuring equitable access to education is likewise acknowledged by the authorities. Public action in both domains has yielded results judged significant but not sufficient by national experts and international organizations. Increasing the place of vocational education and training and of ICT within the education system are other clear objectives of Ghanaian policies in education. The impact of public action remains hard to assess in these fields due to recent implementation or lack of data. The Ministry of Education is responsible for the administration and the coordination of public action regarding education. Its multiple agencies handle the concrete implementation of policies, in cooperation with the local authorities. The state also manages the training of teachers. Many private and public colleges prepare applicants to pass the teacher certification exam to teach at the primary level. 2 universities offer special curricula leading to secondary education teacher certification. Education represented 23% of the state expenditure in 2010. International donor support to the sector has steadily declined as the state has taken on the bulk of education funding. Education in Ghana is divided into 3 phases: basic education, secondary education and tertiary education. Education is compulsory between the ages of 4 and 15. The language of instruction is mainly English. The academic year usually runs from August to May inclusive. History. In pre-colonial times, education in Ghana was informal. Knowledge and competencies were transmitted orally and through apprenticeships. The arrival of European settlers during the 16th century brought new forms of learning. Formal schools appeared, providing a book-based education. Their audience was mainly made up of local elites and their presence was limited to the colonial forts, long confined to the coasts. The 19th century saw the increasing influence of Great Britain over the Ghanaian territories that led to the establishment of the Gold Coast colony. In 1874, with it came a growing number of mission schools and merchant companies, the Wesleyan and the Basel missions being the most present. The Wesleyan mission stayed on the coasts with English as main language. The Basel mission expanded deeper inland and used vernacular languages as the medium of proselytizing. With the support of the British government, missions flourished in a heavily decentralized system that left considerable room for pedagogical freedom. Missions remained the main provider of formal education until independence. Under colonial rule, formal education remained the privilege of the few. Ghana obtained its independence in 1957. The new government of Nkrumah described education as the key to the future and announced a high-level university providing an African point of view, backed by a free universal basic education. In 1961, the Education Act introduced the principle of free and compulsory primary education, and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology was established. As a result, the enrollment almost doubled the next year. This sudden expansion was, however, hard to handle. Ghana quickly fell short of trained teachers and the quality of the curriculum was put into question. The fall of Nkrumah in 1966 was followed by stronger criticisms toward the expansion of education at the cost of quality. Despite the rapid increase of school infrastructures, the enrollment slowly declined until 1973. The year 1974 saw attempts of reforms. Based on the Dosbo Committee report, they followed two goals: reducing the length of pre-tertiary education and modifying programs in order to promote more practical contents at school. Those reforms were, however, very partially implemented due to financial limitations and political instability. The economic situation of the country worsened at the beginning of the 80s. Into an economic downturn, the country was failing at solving the deficit of teachers, maintaining the infrastructures and convincing the parents to bet on school instead of a paid work. Gross enrollment ratio dropped sharper in response, falling below 70% in 1985. The year 1987 marked the beginning of a new series of reforms. The military coup of Jerry Rawlings in 1981 had been followed by a period of relative political stability and opened the way to broader international support. The Rawlings government had gathered enough funds from numerous international organizations and countries to afford massive changes to the educational system. The 1987 Education Act aimed at turning the 1974's Dosbo Committee measures into reality. A national literacy campaign was launched. Pre-tertiary education was reduced from 17 to 12 years and vocational education appeared in junior high school. Education was made compulsory from 6 to 14. The reform succeeded in imposing a new education structure, as well as to increase the enrollment and the number of infrastructure. Yet, the promise of universal access to basic education was not fulfilled. Vocational programs were also considered as a failure. The return to constitutional rule in 1992, though still under Rawlings' government, gave a new impulse by reclaiming the duty of the state to provide a free and compulsory basic education for all. The Local Government Act of 1993 initiated the decentralization in education administration, by transferring power to district assemblies. The free, compulsory and universal basic education provided an action plan for the period 1996 to 2005. Focusing on bridging the gender gap in primary school, improving teaching materials and teachers' living condition. It was later completed by significant acts, like the creation of the Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, in order to promote vocational education, or the founding of the National Accreditation Board, introducing a national accreditation for all tertiary-level institution. In 2007-2008, the 2 years in kindergarten were added to the free and compulsory education. Statistics. Ghana's spending on education has been around 25% of its annual budget in the past decade. The Ghanaian education system from kindergarten up to an undergraduate degree level takes 20 years. The ratio of females to males in the total education system was 96.38% in 2011. The adult literacy rate in Ghana was 71.5% in 2010, with males at 78.3% and females at 65.3%. The youth female and male ages 15 to 24 years literacy rate in Ghana was 81% in 2010, with males at 82% and females at 80%. Since 2008, enrollment has continually increased at all levels of education. With 84% of its children in primary school, Ghana has a school enrollment far ahead of its sub-Saharan neighbors. The number of infrastructures has increased consequently on the same period. Vocational education is the only exception, with an enrollment decrease of 1.3% and the disappearance of more than 50 institutions between the years 2011-12 and 2012-2013. This drop would be the result of the low prestige of vocational education and the lack of demand from industry. In 2011-2012, tertiary education gathers 261,962 students, 202,063 in the public sector and 59,899 in the private sector, divided in 142 tertiary institutions in 2011. The primary school net enrollment rate is of 84% and described by UNICEF as far ahead of the sub-Saharan average. In its 2013-14 report, the World Economic Forum ranked Ghana 46th out of 148 countries regarding the education system quality. Structure of formal education. Overview. The Ghanaian education system is divided in three parts: basic education, secondary cycle and tertiary education. Basic education lasts 11 years, is free and compulsory. It is divided into kindergarten, primary school and junior high school. The junior high school ends on the basic education certificate examination. Once the BEC achieved, the pupil can pursue into secondary cycle. Secondary cycle can be either general or vocational. Senior high school lasts 3 years and ends on the West African Secondary School Certificate Examination. Other secondary institutions leads to various certifications and diplomas. Tertiary education is basically divided into university and polytechnics. The WASSCE is needed to join a university bachelor's degree program. A bachelor's degree lasts 4 years and can be followed by a 1 or 2 year master. The student is then free to start a PhD, usually completed in 3 years. Polytechnics are open to vocational students, from SHS or from TVI. A polytechnic curriculum lasts 2 to 3 years. Ghana also possesses numerous colleges of education. New tertiary education graduates have to serve 1 year within the National Service Scheme. The Ghanaian education system from kindergarten up to an undergraduate degree level takes 20 years. The academic year usually goes from August to May inclusive. The school year lasts 40 weeks in primary school and SHS, and 45 weeks in JHS. Basic education lasts 11 years. The curriculum is free and compulsory and is defined as the minimum period of schooling needed to ensure that children acquire basic literacy, numeracy and problem-solving skills as well as skills for creativity and healthy living. It is divided into kindergarten, primary school and junior high school, which ends on the basic education certificate examination. Kindergarten lasts 2 years. The program is divided in 6 core areas: language and literacy, creative activities, mathematics, environmental studies, movement and drama, and physical development. Primary school lasts 6 years. The courses taught at the primary or basic school level include English, Akan language and Ghanaian culture, ICT, mathematics, environmental studies, social studies, Mandarin and French as an OIF-associated member, integrated or general science, pre-vocational skills and pre-technical skills, religious and moral education, and physical activities such as Ghanaian music and dance, and physical education. There is no certificate of completion at the end of primary school. Junior secondary school lasts 3 years. The junior high school ends on the Basic Education Certificate, which covers the following subjects: English language, Ghanaian language and culture, social studies, integrated science, mathematics, basic, design and technology, information and communication technology, French, religious and moral education. Secondary cycle students who pass the BEC can proceed into secondary education, general or vocational. The secondary general education is assumed by the senior high school. The SHS curriculum is composed of core subjects, completed by elective subjects. The core subjects are English language, mathematics, integrated science and social studies. The students then choose 3 or 4 elective subjects from 5 available programs: agriculture program, general program, business program, vocational program and technical program. The senior high school's curriculum lasts 3 years, as a result of numerous reforms. Originally a 3-year curriculum, it was extended to 4 years in 2007. However, early 2009 this reform was making SHS a 3-year curriculum again. The length of the SHS is still a disputed question. The SHS ends on a final exam called the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, formerly called Senior Secondary School Certificate before 2007. A SHS ranking is established every year by the Statistics, Research, Information, Management and Public Relations Division of the Ministry of Education, based on the WASSCE results. Vocational and technical education takes different forms. After obtaining the BECE, students who wish to pursue in vocational education have 2 main possibilities: following the vocational and technical programs as elective courses in a SHS, or joining a technical and vocational institute. SHS students follow the usual SHS 3-year curriculum. They can then, provided sufficient results at the WASSCE, join a university or polytechnic program. TVI students usually follow a 4-year curriculum, divided in 2 cycles of 2 years, leading to awards from city and guilds, the Royal Society of Arts or the West African Examinations Council. They can then pursue into a polytechnic program. The state of vocational education sector remains, however, obscure in Ghana. 90% of the vocational education is still informal, taking the form of apprenticeship. The offer of formal vocational education within the private sector is also hard to define, and the Ministry of Education recognizes its incapacity to give a clear overview of the public vocational education, many ministries having their own programs. International schools also exists in Ghana. The Takoradi International School, Tema International School, Galaxy International School, the Roman Ridge School, Lincoln Community School, Faith Montessori School, American International School, Association International School, New Nation School, SOS Herman Minor International College and International Community School, which offer the International Baccalaureate, Advanced Level General Certificate of Education and the International General Certificate of Secondary Education. Tertiary education. Tertiary education in Ghana has been notably growing during the last 20 years, both in terms of enrollment and infrastructures. A substantial part of this development comes from the private sector. Universities offer an academic education, from bachelor to PhD. Students are admitted based on the performance at the WASSCE. A maximum of 24 points is generally required in order to apply to a bachelor degree program. A bachelor degree is usually completed after 4 years of majoring in a specific field of interest. Master degrees are of 2 sorts. A 1-year program, concluded with a final paper based on a literature study, or a 2-year program, concluded with a final paper based on 1 year of independent research. Both can lead to a PhD, usually achieved in 3 years within a doctoral program. Polytechnics offer a vocational education. They propose 3-year curricula, leading to a higher national diploma. The students have then the possibility to follow a special 18-month program to achieve a Bachelor of Technology degree. Ghana also possesses many colleges of education, public or private. They are usually specialized in one field or in one work training. New tertiary education graduates have to serve 1 year within the national service. Participants can serve in one of the 8 following sectors: agriculture, health, education, local government, rural development, military and youth programs. Grading system. Ghana's grading system is different at every point in education. Through the kindergarten to the junior high, every grade a student gains is written in terms of numbers instead of alphabets. There is no system of pluses and minuses. Senior high school. Until 2007, senior secondary high school ended with the senior secondary school certificate. Its grading system went from A to E. In 2007, the SSSC was replaced by the West African Secondary School Certificate Examination. The WASSCE grading system adds numbers to the letters, offering a larger scale of evaluation. In both systems, each grade refers to a certain number of points. In order to join a bachelor degree program, applicants are usually asked not to exceed 24 points at their WASSCE, SSSC. Tertiary education. The grading system varies depending on the institution. Almost all the tertiary institutions are based on the grade point average as a way of assessing whether a student is failing or passing. But individual schools have their own way of calculating GPAs, because of their individualized marking schemes. For example, a mark of 80 may be an A in a school, but may be an 8+ in another school.